All right, Richard, welcome to another Fantasy Goodfellas video where we're going to talk about the top 30 running backs for week 1. You ready?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
The Fantasy Goodfellas.
Boom, boom, boom. Rolling on the field.
The Fantasy Goodfellas. Before we get started, I just want to tell everybody how we're going to be doing these videos this year, a little bit different than last year. Is Richard's going to give the rankings, and then I'm going to call them out on those rankings to see why they put that running back in that position. All right, Richard, take it over.
Number 1, we have Christian McCaffrey, who will be hosting the New York Jets.
Half of Christian McCaffrey's points depends on the quarterback and receiving. And you're not high on Darnold. How do you have him here?
Look, Christian McCaffrey, regardless of quarterback, is a threat to have 100 yards rushing and 100 yards receiving every week. You just can't beat that. Number 2, Dalvin Cook at Cincinnati.
Dalvin Cook's playing Cincinnati. Don't you think he deserves that first spot?
You can make the argument, but again, I think the serious threat for 100 yards rushing and receiving is McCaffrey. Though Dalvin Cook can do it as well, but I think Dalvin Cook is going to be more of a threat for 200 yards rushing this week. Number 3, we have Derrick Henry, who will be hosting Arizona.
Do you think Derrick Henry is going to get the touches this week as Tennessee tries to make their shiny new acquisition happy by throwing to Julio Jones?
I think there's going to be plenty of opportunity for each. I think Julio Jones will make his receptions, but that offense relies on Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry will always get his touches. And number 4, Alvin Kamara, home against Green Bay.
Alvin Kamara had great chemistry with Drew Brees. You think he's going to have any chemistry issues with Winston?
I think it's going to affect this play just a little, but Kamara's a stud, and Kamara will score fantasy points. And number 5, Antonio Gibson, who will be home against the Chargers.
A lot of fantasy rankings got Gibson a lot lower. You got him high. What gives?
Washington has a good defense. Antonio Gibson is a stud. That team, Fitzpatrick at QB is an upgrade. There are a lot of things to like about the Redskins, and Gibson's going to have a lot of short yardage opportunities this week. And number 6, we have Raheem Mostert, who will be at Detroit.
Mostert played 8 games last year, and you got him ranked pretty high. Is he going to have injuries this year?
I wouldn't bet against injuries, but for now, you got to treat him as being healthy, and he is. And he's got a great matchup. The Lions are going to be miserable, both on offense and defense. And number 7, Jonathan Taylor will be home against the Seattle Seahawks.
What do you think Taylor's going to do this week that deserves this ranking?
Look, Taylor was running back 4 last year. This year, right now, he's playing the Seattle Seahawks. If everybody remembers, Seattle had one of the worst defenses in history last year. So I think they're going to improve. They have to improve, but still, it's a good matchup for Jonathan Taylor, who was both fast and strong. And number 8, Ezekiel Elliott at Tampa Bay.
All right, I got to ask you, is Elliott declining?
I don't know what happened last year. We're still trying to figure that out. He had a lot of touches and did very little with those touches. He had, I think, the 5th most touches in the league, and yet did very little with them. So we'll find out. Was it the offensive line? Was it Dak Prescott missing? I mean, normally stud running backs will do well regardless of their situation. We'll see what's going on with Zeke, but everything around them is set up for success this year. And number 9, Nick Chubb at Kansas City.
Nick Chubb is a great running back, but he shares the ball. How does that play into his high ranking this year?
Well, he shared the ball last year and was still one of the top 10 running backs. Cleveland loves to run. The problem this year is week 1, they're playing Kansas City. So they're going to be forced to throw. Mayfield's going to be forced to throw more. I don't think they're going to be able to give Chubb that many touches. And number 10, Aaron Jones, who will be at New Orleans.
Do you think Aaron Jones should be ranked higher with all the Aaron Rodgers drama, meaning they're going to run the ball more than throw?
Here's the thing with Aaron Jones. All the short yardage work will likely go to A.J. Dillon. And no matter what, Green Bay is going to be a passing team. If you have the MVP at quarterback, you're going to pass. And number 11, James Robinson, who will be at Houston.
A lot of people got Robinson a lot lower. Why do you got him ranked so high?
Don't forget what James Robinson did last year when he was a monster with lesser quarterbacks. Now this year you have Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne is hurt. So it's James Robinson's backfield again. And number 12, Miles Sanders at Atlanta.
Last year, Miles Sanders' yards per carry was 5.3. He needs touches to get the yards. You think he's going to get the touches?
I think he will. For some reason, he's being undervalued this year. It could be because Jalen Hurts is going to vulture some touchdowns from him. It could be because everybody thinks that Gainwell and Scott are going to get a lot of touches, that it's going to be a committee in Philadelphia. I think Sanders is going to have a good year, and I think he's going to outplay most of his fantasy rankings. At 13, we have Joe Mixon, who will be home against Minnesota.
The problem I see with Mixon is his yards per carry is really low. You think that's going to hurt him?
Last year, the offensive line for Cincinnati was miserable. I mean, it got Burrow hurt. This year, let's see if they improve. But if Joe Burrow stays healthy, they will do well. Everybody on that offense will do well, including Mixon. And number 14, Austin Ekeler at Washington.
The problem with Ekeler, last year, he never broke 100 yards.
He doesn't. Eckler's value comes in the fact that he catches a lot of balls out of the backfield. So you have Herbert, you have a healthy Herbert, you have, a healthy Ekeler. It's gonna be good. And the issue is they have a tough matchup week 1 against the Redskins. And number 15, Najee Harris at Buffalo.
Here's a rookie starting in Pittsburgh. You think that's a good player in a good system?
I think he's going to do well. We'll see. A lot of people are high on Najee. He's got a tough matchup week 1, but I have him in my top 20. And number 16, David Montgomery at the LA Rams.
David Montgomery had only 48 yards against the Rams last year. You think he's going to do better this year?
I like David Montgomery a lot. Tariq Cohen is out. Nagy says he's going to give him the ball. We'll see. It's a very tough matchup, but I like Montgomery. I like what he did at the end of last season. At number 17, Chris Carson at Indianapolis.
Here's another running back that never broke 100 yards last year. Why do you think fantasy owners are high on this guy?
It's time to buy low on Chris Carson. He had a very bad season last year. Went from 280 carries the previous season to about 140 carries last year. I think that number will go back up to around 250 this year. Pete Carroll wants to run more. Chris Carson will get more opportunities and break 100. And number 18, Gus Edwards at Las Vegas.
Edwards' stock is rising because Dobbins got hurt, but how much should that rise?
Gus Edwards is being ranked correctly. He is the number 1 guy on a team that will run, that has to run. The only problem is Lamar Jackson will vulture some of his touchdowns. At number 19, Myles Gaskin at New England.
Okay, I got to ask you, why are fantasy owners high on Gaskin?
Gaskin looks like he's going to be the number 1 running back with the Dolphins this year. And it looks like the Dolphins are going to have a good offense, and it looks like Gaskin's going to get a lot of touches. And number 20, Saquon Barkley, home against the Denver Broncos.
Okay, Barkley is a dynamic runner when healthy before the injury. Some people got him in the top 10. Why is he outside?
Because he's going to get limited touches week 1. That's the only reason. Saquon Barkley will be in our top 10 any week that he is fully healthy. And number 21, Clyde EdwardsHelaire will be home against the Cleveland Browns.
All right, we talk about too many targets on a good team. Do you think Clyde EdwardsHelaire could get more touches, thus pushing him up the ranking this week?
I think EdwardsHelaire will get around the same amount of touches he had last season. I think the difference will be the amount of touchdowns. I think he will score more this year. And number 22, Mike Davis will be home against Philadelphia.
Atlanta was a bad team last year. Do you think that factors into him this year?
It does. it does, but Mike Davis was very good at Carolina last year. Now he is the #1 running back for Atlanta. So I like him here at 22. At 23, Kareem Hunt at Kansas City.
Kareem Hunt's a good receiver out of the backfield, and they're playing Kansas City. They can fall behind and try to throw it out and give him a lot more touches.
I agree. And you can make the argument that maybe we should rank Hunt higher and Chubb even lower. But I think this is about right for him. We don't know how many touches he's going to get. He probably will receive a lot out of the backfield because he probably will be behind in this game. But I like him at this spot. And number 24, Daryl Henderson, home against Chicago.
The problem I see with Henderson from last year is he had 4 games with less than 10 yards.
Last year, Daryl Henderson was sharing carries with Cam Akers. And this year, he is not. This year, he is the #1 running back. So that gives him opportunity. The issue is, week 1 is he's got a bad thumb. Is it going to come into play? We'll see. And number 25, Leonard Fournette, who will be home against the Dallas Cowboys.
Fournette needs a score to matter. Do you think he gets in the end zone?
I think he does. And Leonard Fournette will do damage, both short yardage and also receiving. At 26, Devin Singletary will be home against Pittsburgh Steelers.
My problem with Singletary is he just doesn't score.
Singletary will be a mystery. That whole backfield in Buffalo will be a mystery. Who's going to get the touches? Singletary, Moss. Here's the thing. I love Josh Allen, and the Bills are going to be very good this year. And number 27, Chase Edmonds at Tennessee.
Edmonds is a dual threat, and some games he can have way more receiving yards than rushing. How do you think he does this week?
Well, the receiving will definitely help. Kyler Murray's going to cut into his rushing. The problem with Chase Edmonds is that he is smallish, and he's just not going to be a bell cow. And number 28, Damian Harris, home against the Miami Dolphins.
Okay, Harris is a good rusher when he gets the carries, but do you think that Miami D is just too good?
Absolutely think that Miami D is good. I think the Miami D is going to give New England a tough time. I mean, the wild card here is Mac Jones. How good is the rookie going to be in his first start? I don't think he's going to be very good. They have a tough matchup, and I think Damian Harris will suffer. And number 29, Javonte Williams will be home against the New York Giants.
How do you think this rookie's going to do in his first game?
The problem here with Javonte Williams is the backfield split. Who's going to get the touches, Gordon or Javonte Williams? I ranked Javonte Williams higher. I think Javonte Williams is going to be amazing when he does get the bulk of the carries. And number 30, Ronald Jones will be home against the Dallas Cowboys.
All right, you got 2 running backs in your top 30. How do you think that's going to play out in Tampa with Ronald Jones?
I think that offense in Tampa Bay is going to be dynamite. I think there's enough for both Fournette and Ronald Jones, especially in week 1 against the Dallas Cowboys.
All right, thanks for coming on here and sharing your top 30 running back rankings for week 1.
It's my pleasure. We'll be here all year. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram, and of course on YouTube.
Fantasy Goodfellas.
Rolling on the field.
Fantasy Goodfellas.